Called The Curious Garden by Peter Brown. I got this book when I was teaching first grade in East Harlem. And I read this to my first graders back then. That was a few years ago. And this book was actually inspired by the High Line. So my friends who live in New York City, maybe you've been or heard of the High Line, but it's an amazing above ground old railroad that has turned into now a huge, beautiful garden. I don't want to spoil the ending, but okay, The Curious Garden. There once was a city without gardens or trees or greenery of any kind. Most people spent their time indoors, sort of like now. As you can imagine, it was a very dreary place. Oh, it looks dreary. Look at that. There's smokestacks everywhere and everything is gray and it looks like there's a lot of pollution and not one single tree or green patch of grass. However, there was one boy who loved being outside. Even on drizzly days while everyone else stayed inside, you could always find Liam happily splashing through his neighborhood. It was on one such morning that Liam made several surprising discoveries. He was wandering around the old railway, as he did from time to time, when he stumbled upon a dark stairwell leading up to the tracks. The railway had stopped working ages ago, and since Liam had always wanted to explore the tracks, there was only one thing for the curious boy to do. So here he is. He sees that entrance. What's he going to do? Liam ran up the stairs, pushed open the door, and stepped out onto the railway. The first thing he saw was a lonely patch of color. Wildflowers and plants were the last things he'd expected to find up there. But when he took a closer look, it became clear that the plants were dying. They needed a gardener. Liam may not have been a gardener, but he knew that he could help. So he returned to the railway the very next day and got to work. The flowers nearly drowned, and he had a few pruning problems. But the plants patiently waited while Liam found better ways of gardening. There he is singing la 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 to the plants. As the weeks rolled on, Liam began to feel like a real gardener. And the plants began to feel like a real garden. Oh my goodness, you can see there's already a huge improvement. There's green grass and the plants are growing taller. Some extra flowers have popped up. Most gardens stay in one place, but this was no ordinary garden. With miles of open railway ahead of it, the garden was growing restless. It wanted to explore. It's a curious garden, isn't it? The tough little weeds and mosses were the first to move. They popped up farther and farther down the tracks and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. Over the next few months, Liam and the curious garden explored every corner of the railway. Look at that. The garden is just growing, you guys. It's just all over this railway now. That is amazing. And all from sweet Liam, who just decided to pop up and take care of these plants and become a gardener, even though he didn't know anything about gardening. And there he is, just relishing in his good work. Beautiful patch of wildflowers. Oh, and it looks like the season might be changing, you guys. What do you notice? Doesn't look like it's so bright anymore. Oh, here we go. So that was fall, and here we have winter. We can tell because there's snow on the ground. Good noticings, readers. After spending his spring and summer and autumn with the garden, Liam's time on the railway was finally interrupted by winter. Heavy blankets of snow fell on the city that season, and for the first time since he'd become a gardener, Liam could not visit the plants. How do you think he felt about that, not being able to visit the plants that he loved so much? Rather than waste his winter worrying about the garden, Liam spent it preparing for spring. What a clever boy, huh? So he's gathering tools and he's reading books so he can learn about how to be a better gardener. What a smart kiddo. After 3 cold months, the snow finally began to melt, and Liam rolled his new gardening gear over to the railway. Winter had taken a toll on the garden. So look at that, you guys. That what was once so green and beautiful and full of flowers now looks a little sad and brown. But that happens in the winter, right? That always happens, and the plants tend to be strong and be capable of regrowing. Thanks to Liam's planning, his handy new tools, and a little help from the sun, the plants soon awoke from their winter sleep. La 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 la. There he is singing to the plants again. That's just so sweet. I love that. The garden had always wanted to explore the rest of the city, and that spring it was finally ready to make its move. Once again, the tough little weeds and mosses set out first. They popped up farther and farther from the railway and were closely followed by the more delicate plants. The garden was especially curious about old, forgotten things. So there's the garden popping up in an old, forgotten car. And here, even popping through the cracks of a sidewalk. Thumbs up if you've ever seen plants popping up through a crack in a sidewalk. I know I have. A few plants popped up where they didn't belong. Oops. We definitely do not want plants covering stop signs. That would be dangerous. So Liam's going to cut those back. And we don't want plants on fire hydrants. Those are for safety, right? Others mysteriously popped up all at once. Who do you think that is? Who do you think that is planting this mysterious garden? It's Liam. But the most surprising things that popped up were the new gardeners. Oh my goodness. You guys, Liam has inspired an entire city. Look at all of these kids lining up to help garden. And then there's even adults who are like, oh, well, sheesh, I could have a garden on my rooftop. Just because I live in the city doesn't mean I can't have a garden. And they're putting gardens in their planter boxes and in their rooftops and wherever they can find space. Because that's what New Yorkers do. New Yorkers are inventive and creative in that way. New Yorkers are amazing. And here's Liam walking down a stairwell full of plants. And here he is with a friend on a picnic blanket. Wow, and there's just, you can see there's just plant life everywhere, which is a really different picture from when we first saw the city. It's starting to look pretty different. Many years later, the entire city had blossomed. But of all the new gardens, Liam's favorite was where it all began. And here he is this is Liam, you guys, when he's much older. He's a dad now. And here's his daughter, his son and his daughter, and probably his partner. And here they are tending to that old garden. And look, that was the tiny tree that now has turned into a big tree. And look at this, you guys. I'm going to flip back. This is what the city looked like before Liam became a gardener. And this is what it looked like after he inspired the whole city to become gardeners. That's pretty amazing. It's remarkable what one person can do, you guys. One person can make so much change and can inspire so many people with their actions. I hope you all enjoyed that book. I just love the message behind that book that one person, one kid can affect an entire city and can change the world for the better, right? And this is our planet, right? You guys, like, this is the only one we've got. So we've got to take care of it. And I think because it's Earth Day, we should do something that makes us feel really empowered. Do something that makes you feel like you're actually making a difference for this planet. So I challenge you to grow something, to plant one thing. If you live in a rural place like where I live, you can go outside and you can work on a garden. You can plant vegetables or flowers or a tree. How amazing would that be if you added a tree to this world, to this planet? If you don't live in a rural place, but you live in an apartment building, let's say, you can take half of an eggshell and put a little soil in there, find a dry bean that you might have lying around, or even a pea, and plant it in there, and then you've grown something. You're growing something right there. So I challenge you to just plant something, whether it's in your home or out in a yard or a garden. It doesn't matter. But adding plant life to this planet really helps, right? It helps with our mood and helps us feel better, but it also helps with the quality of the air and the quality of the water and the quality of our soil. I wanted to share one thing with you because Earth Day is such an important day. I wanted to share this project that my daughter did. So we're gonna make a garland that goes across her window, and in the middle it says, "Save the planet, save the world." And you can see that it is a cardboard cutout, and she's done all the continents in green and all the oceans in blue. And she actually knows where all the continents are, which is probably more than I can say for myself. I would just kind of like throw some green and blue on there. And then she has made some little earths to go alongside that. That'll be in the middle. And each one of them, she did the continents and the oceans. She wrote down one thing that will help the planet. So use less plastic, pick up trash, reduce, reuse, recycle, plant trees, walk to school, turn off the water when you don't need it, turn off the lights when you're not in the room, and eat vegetables, which is actually, if you change to a more plant-based diet, that's one of the best ways to help the environment. So my friends, I challenge you to plant something, grow something, and also to make a list of all the things that you can do to help save the planet. And if you need ideas, go back and watch the weekend edition books with Josie, with my daughter, because she reads 2 books. One is about saving water and one's about saving energy. And you can get some really great ideas from those books. Also, you can just think about what you've learned in school or from your families about how to save our planet. Okay, my friends, happy Earth Day. I hope you have a wonderful day of celebration, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.